Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today on Face Off we are comparing two not so fondly remembered Season 18 stories, Tom Baker's final season. And my face off to you is which one is better between Leisure Hive and Meglos. Now for me this is easy because I actually really like Meglos. I don't just mean it's the better of the two, I genuinely like Meglos. It's not essential Doctor Who viewing by any means, but I like the story. I always enjoy a rewatch of it. My only complaint, oddly enough, is that I think it's too short. I wish it had had one more part, probably, because the ending wraps up like super fast. I remember the first time I watched it, I'm like, that's it? I'm like looking under my seat and stuff. Where's the other episode? There's got to be another part somewhere. I'm looking for it like it's my car keys. It just ends very abruptly, like very abruptly. It Deus Ex Machina's harder than Modern Who. That's saying something. But it's still really good. I absolutely love Tom Baker playing dual roles. And he does a really good job. Of course, always as the Fourth Doctor, but a good job when he's Meglos as well. I'm surprised they convinced Tom Baker to put on the makeup for Meglos, but he wears it wonderfully well. One of the few DVD covers probably where it's not actually the Doctor on the cover because it's actually Meglos. Also, we have Jacqueline Hill back as a different character. Jacqueline Hill, of course, was one of the first companions, Barbara Wright. It's nice to see her back in Doctor Who for the first time in not quite 20 years, but going on 20 years. To have her back as a different character, it's always good to see her. The more I see of Barbara, the more I come to appreciate Jacqueline Hill as an actress. So that's going to make me even more fond of Meglos next time I watch it. It's just a really good story that I enjoy, far more so than most. I do consider it an underrated story, and I don't know if I'd call it a hidden gem, but I do very much enjoy watching it. Whereas Leisure Hive is one of my least favorite Tom Baker stories. Now, I do want to add it's perfectly watchable. It's not Power of Kroll territory here where I never want to watch that again. Matter of fact, if I ever want to experience Power of Kroll, I'll just read the Target novel. That's better. This is perfectly watchable. So whenever I'm going through Season 18, sometimes I may skip it, sometimes I may watch it. I don't think it's good. Some of the effects have aged terribly. The lizard people look really bad once you actually fully see them. When they're hinted at, they're fine. When you actually see them, they're awful. The story itself is fine. I enjoy some of the sciencey stuff going on. I really don't like that 90-second opening shot of the beach where it's just panning for like a minute or a minute and a half. I'm sitting here watching it going, bored now. Okay, there's K9. And then K9 blowing up at the beginning is silly. It's like they want to make that a dramatic moment, but it's really dumb. It's great for editing trailers together, I guess, for Season 18, but the actual moment is dumb. The footage looks good. I do believe that opening scene on the beach is using the original film element. I think the original film element's the only film element that survives from Season 18, I think. I'm not sure about that, but I think I'm right on that. But then the rest of it, the people and the way they die with the little balls that fall off, that sounds like a terrible way to die. I don't get into the Leisure Hive. It's one of my top 5 least favorite Tom Baker stories, but because Tom Baker's such a good Doctor and his era is such a good era, it's still watchable. I don't dread it. It's one of those, if I'm not in the mood for it, I'll skip it and move on to Meglos. Or if it's one of those, I'm like, I haven't watched that in a while, I'll sit down and watch it. And I'm not sitting there the whole time I'm watching it going, no! Like I would be with Power of Kroll. So, Meglos I prefer, but Leisure Hive is not good, but watchable. Let's see how it turned out. Neither one of these had over 50%. The way y'all voted, there was 150 votes. You know, I'll even refresh it just to see if anything popped up in the past few seconds. I don't think so. 150 votes. The Leisure Hive had 41%. Meglos had 46%. And 13% said they're both garbage. I was watching Leisure Hive fluctuate in the 30s and 40s a bit. It would get into like 38 and then it would bounce back to like 41, 42. It went back and forth in the 30s and 40s a lot. Meglos always seemed to have a slight lead over it. So, not exactly a big dramatic difference between the two, as both stories are generally thought of very poorly. At least it just seems to be the general consensus. I know people who like Leisure Hive better, obviously. Again, 13% said they're both garbage. 41% preferred Leisure Hive. 46% preferred Meglos. Let's see the comments. Phil Owen says, I'm a fan of both. I like the Leisure Hive's determination to introduce more science-based storytelling in the show. It is a far departure from Shada and Horns of Nimon. And while the tension between science and superstition has been a part of the show since Season 1's Aztecs, rarely has it been addressed so directly as in Meglos. A shame both stories were let down by rushed scripting and substandard production. Shamrock Particle says, I like both, even despite the production flaws with episode recap overruns, etc. Depends on the mood. Meglos is fun, and Jaclyn Hill captures the character of Lexa perfectly. But Leisure Hive does more for me with setting up a threat, and Leisure Hive is taking the science and inevitable technobabble more seriously. Leisure Hive, I can't talk today, has better cliffhangers too, though Meglos also sets a standard for doing other than the, oh my god, person is in danger again, a standard that Keeper of Traken excels at. Paul Bailey, a fellow Doctor Who YouTuber, says, Meglos for me. Meglos really pulls me into the story where Leisure Hive just doesn't. I agree with that. I really wish Meglos was longer. I'm probably the only person to ever say that. JLBWHO says, I love Meglos. I found it a fun romp from start to finish. Plus two Tom Bakers, so bonus. Exactly. That sums up how I feel. Colin, who is actually one of my newest Patreon, actually. What's up, Colin? Says, Meglos for me. While Leisure Hive has a strong science theme, it's almost at the expense of the story, whereas Meglos is pretty awful, full of pseudoscientific gobbledygook. That sounds great coming from Tom. I love that sentence. It has the bonus of being a lot of fun. It doesn't pretend to be hard science, and ultimately Doctor Who isn't hard science. I enjoy that. Meglos is pretty awful, full of pseudoscientific gobbledygook. That sounds great coming from Tom Baker. I love that sentence. The Strange Light Bulb says, I'm not a fan of Season 18, but I enjoyed Meglos. I love Season 18. It's odd. Season 17 and Season 18 are so vastly different. It's hard to believe they're consecutive seasons because they're so different. But I love them both. And it's hard for me to pick which one I like more. It just depends on my mood, I think. Lewis says, not a fan of both, but have to choose Leisure Hive just for the moth things. The moth thing? I can't remember its name. Delivery of the line, I'll take the baby at the end of Part 4. I don't remember the name either, actually. Bananas Are Good says, Meglos by far. It's not a great episode, but I find it much more fun than Leisure Hive. Agreed. Tom Baker is great in Meglos, and it's fun to see him play the villain. I found Leisure Hive so boring. Yes. And the main villain, Pango, or whatever his name is, to be really irritating. Yes. It is my least favorite from Season 18. Yes. Plus, it's nice to see Jaclyn Hill again. Yes. This is pretty much summing up me in it. I do find Leisure Hive to be a bit boring. I do find the main villain to be very irksome and bothersome. And it is easily my least favorite from Season 18. Meglos, the Flyattractor, another one of my patrons, says, Meglos for the win. We get Tom Baker in a dual role, one of them being the baddie, the return of a truly classic actor in another role, Jaclyn Hill, and funny space pirates. You can never go wrong with funny space pirates. Jarence Bowman says, I like both. Problem being, says, Meglos gets a lot of stick, but I like its scope and it dares to be different. I agree with that. And he also says, I also love the design of this serial. It has some real sci-fi elements to it that stood out. Bobby says, don't mind Leisure Hive. Meglos is rubbish, though season 17 story standing out like a sore thumb in Season 18, a real oddity. It was throwing me off because he was saying Series 17, Series 18. And I don't know why. That's always one of my eye twitch things when people refer to Modern Who by season and Classic Who by series. I don't know why, but it drives me nuts. But I get what he's saying. He's saying that Meglos feels like a season 17 story instead of a season 18 story. Alice Collins says Leisure Hive, definitely. And Sub-Zero says Meglos is a little underrated. Paul Kelly says I like Leisure Hive and Meglos. Nice. Glenn Skywalker says I'm not a fan of both of them, but I don't like Leisure Hive less because it's not an interesting story and it's my least favorite Tom Baker story. It's better than Power of Prowl. Mikey Elliott says I think Meglos is okay, but much better than the Leisure Hive, which is boring. But like old Tom. That makeup on Leisure Hive for Tom when he is old looks better than the makeup on Clara in Last Christmas when she is old. So we're seeing 1980s makeup beating like 2010s makeup. Or the 2010s makeup. That aged makeup for Tom Baker actually gets pulled off really well in Leisure Hive. I will definitely admit that. Overall, I don't like Season 18. It's a bad ending for the Fourth Doctor. I like Season 18. And Cody W1, who is also a fellow Doctor Who YouTuber, says Meglos is fun. LH is boring AF. So there we have that. Meglos winning out slightly over Leisure Hive with 46% of the vote compared to Leisure Hive's 41%. I was curious how this one would play out because I know I much prefer Meglos. Like, it's not even close. Whereas I was curious what people would think because I have heard people defend Leisure Hive, and I know Meglos isn't as well loved in the fandom as I enjoy it. So that is where that fell, with 13% calling them both garbage. So if you didn't get a chance to vote in this poll, comment down below and let me know which one you prefer between the two stories. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There's a link to that down in the description below. Everyone that joins at any tier level gets a free video request, and I have tweaked the Patreon lately. I added a couple tiers. I added some other stuff to existing tiers in case you haven't checked it out in a while. I also have a P.O. box down there as well if there's anything you would like to send me, as well as a link to my Amazon wish list with Doctor Who and non-Doctor Who stuff on it if there's anything you would like to send me. Or, while I have you here, if you enjoyed the content and you watch my channel regularly and haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Click the like button. It's free. Can't argue with free. I'm a big fan of free. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.